After a very long and arduous legal battle, a professor has finally won a defamation case against a woman who falsely accused him of rape. The story from Fox 9. Law professor falsely accused of rape wins defamation case. A University of Minnesota law professor, Francesco Parisi, has won a nearly $1.2 million defamation case against a woman who had falsely accused him of rape. In his blistering ruling on Tuesday, Hennepin County Judge Daniel Moreno wrote that Parisi's former lover, Morgan Wright, had pursued an untruthful narrative crusade, and her accusations were false and made with malice. It is believed to be the largest defamation judgment in Minnesota. The vast majority of the judgment, $814,514, is for economic losses, as well as reputational and emotional damages. Only $100,000 was for punitive damages. Parisi walked out of jail 3 years ago. His life in shambles. I'm going to stop right there. This guy, he won what is believed to be the largest defamation case in Minnesota, but only $100,000 was punitive damages. That's, in my opinion, disgraceful. And I wonder if I'll get to it, if the woman is actually end up charged as well. But one thing you got to realize about any kind of lawsuit, he might never actually get this money. You can have sympathy for this man. His life was destroyed. He was falsely accused. We'll read more, so I'll give you the fuller context. But does this woman even have the money to pay? It's not going to be paid. Who's he going to get it from? His life was just destroyed, and that's it. I mean, maybe he'll feel good having won this. Maybe it'll clear his name. Let's read more. Parisi was criminally charged with raping Wright and trying to run over her with his car. While in jail for 3 weeks, with his bail set at $500,000, his mother died in his native Italy. Days later, the Hennepin County attorney would drop charges because of insufficient evidence. Prosecutors privately conceded there was no evidence. Then why was he ever arrested and held? But the damage was already done. It was a horror movie, said Parisi. Many of his law school students, especially the women, assumed he was guilty. Enrollment in his classes dropped by 60%, with some classes canceled. And in the eyes of the internet, he might as well have been convicted. Even after those charges were dropped, people Google my name and only see a professor accused of so many crimes. Now they explain what happened. The relationship between Parisi and Wright began in September of 2014, with a chance meeting outside his condo on Washington Avenue in the North Loop. That night, they had sex and quickly were involved in a real estate venture together to partition Parisi's large condo to create a studio for Wright. Parisi's attorney, John Braun, said there were red flags from the beginning. But the deal fell apart, and the relationship soon soured. There were protracted legal proceedings over the next year as Parisi tried to evict Wright from the property. Days after the Minnesota Court of Appeals upheld Wright's eviction in June 2016, Wright reported to Minneapolis police that Parisi had raped her 18 months earlier on January 22nd, 2015. The allegation was jaw-dropping. Wright claimed Parisi it's already, not family friendly, but I'm going to avoid the greater details. She claimed the attack left her with 3 broken teeth and some other damage. You can see it on the screen, but I'll leave it there. But there was no evidence, not even medical reports, of corroborating accounts from people she might have told about the attack. Wright had also not mentioned any allegation in previous court filings for restraining orders. Wright also accused Parisi of attempting to run her over with his car in broad daylight in downtown Minneapolis. Once again, no evidence, and the allegations were nearly identical to those she made a decade earlier against an ex-husband who is now deceased. It turns out the allegations were all false, lies, said John Braun, Parisi's attorney, who added, there were plenty of red flags. One Minneapolis police officer actually read the case that way and declined it for prosecution, he said. Morgan Wright came back 6 months later and found another police officer, and the whole thing started over again. What police officer, with no evidence, would go after this guy? It's so obvious. I'm trying to evict somebody. I won an eviction case against her. Now she's accusing me. Okay, you're under arrest. That makes literally no sense. The guy was being held in jail. Man, Judge Moreno meticulously details a half dozen other fabrications in his findings. She lied about having a degree in music from Juilliard, about being a doctor, and having other advanced degrees. She also claimed her father was former UN Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld, who was a bachelor, likely gay, and died in a plane crash. She even adopted his name. And while Wright claims to be destitute and on disability for a seizure disorder, She lives in a luxury downtown condo and is known to drive a Mercedes convertible. When Fox 9 reached her by phone, Wright declined to comment, referring a reporter to her attorneys. Her attorneys, Cassandra Merrick and Matthew Pelican, of the law firm Medell PA, did not return calls or emails requesting comment. Parisi, a noted legal scholar in Italy and U.S., said he has lost numerous speaking engagements and business opportunities, becoming a pariah in his profession. His personal life is a vacuum. I used to be the popular guy at parties, he said. I'm Italian. The good wine? I bring the good wine. I don't get so many invitations now. Parisi said he regrets that his mother never got to see him vindicated. He fears his reputation is buried with her. Parisi, who is the father of 5 daughters, said he believes in the Me Too movement and believes the tragedy of the case is that it could take away credibility from real victims who should be heard and believed. And the court has now heard it. This guy, he did not do what he was accused of. And it should seem obvious to anybody even before this was reported. There's something he will never get back, no matter what you do. And this is the true tragedy and, dare I say, horror of this story. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, wanted to make a segment about it. It's not big pressing news. It's not Joe Biden saying something awful. It's not Donald Trump doing a backflip or Pelosi, slinging some crazy new bill. Just a guy who was falsely accused. But he did win one of the biggest defamation cases. I think it's newsworthy. I think it's newsworthy because no legal proceeding. There is nothing they could ever give this man to give him back what he lost. When his mother died while he was in jail, believing that these accusations made against his son, perhaps believing they may be true, perhaps believing in her heart she knew it couldn't be true, but never getting that vindication, that proof. And now she's gone. And there's not going to be anything that can bring ease to this man's mind. That will be a life sentence. I mean, that's probably the most horrifying thing you could do to somebody. I mean, look, man, there's physical pain, there's torture, there are things you can do. But to leave someone knowing that their mother died with this allegation over his head in jail, that's what nightmares are made of. That's not only that. I mean, look, we can talk about what his mom may have been thinking, but to think about the fact that he couldn't be there for his mom. She took away something that no punitive damages, no award will ever win. What makes it all really scary to me? I'm glad the guy won $1.2 million. But think about this. Think about all the things that were taken from him. His life destroyed, his career in shambles. He probably still won't get it back. $1.2 million sounds great. It does. How old is this guy? He seems older. Does he have enough to retire on? Is that 1.2 going to last him for the rest of his life? No. That $814,000 was just making up for the losses he's already sustained. That's the money he should have already had. You know what they basically said to him? I know you were in jail for several weeks. Your mom died, and you never got to, you couldn't see her. You couldn't explain to her. There will never be a chance for you to prove to her that you were vindicated. Here's $100,000. Yeah, $100,000. Basically 2 years of median income after everything he's been through. I get it. $800,000 is a lot. $800,000 is a lot of money. But you got to understand how much he could have had, what he could have done, what he could have retired on. This woman, man, I'm going to say it. I don't know. It doesn't mention anything about her going to jail. She lied. It was overt. But I wonder if she won, what she took away from him. She probably laughed. When they ordered her to pay, first of all, can she even pay it? Is he even going to get any of that money? Nah, she won. That's how it works. That's the nightmare of the court of public opinion. We recently saw that Ronan Farrow, hero of the Me Too movement's reporting, was embellished, to say the least, and in some instances, downright manipulative. It was a huge story. He accused Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer, according to Mediaite, was able to prove that a lot of this reporting was fake news. Mediaite published an op-ed for Matt Lauer and corroborated several witnesses' claims that basically Ronan Farrow, this story of the Me Too movement, was just not real. And I even said bad things about Matt Lauer. Now I feel bad. Think about how many stories we've heard that have been weaponized because in today's day and age, people just believe the victim. And that's what the activists wanted. Believe all women, believe all survivors. No matter what, just believe them. Well, they do. They did. It's always actually been that way, you know? Now, they'll argue it hasn't. But let me tell you, while the police may not have believed certain cases, the court of public opinion has always dangerously just assumed if you've been arrested, you must be guilty. There's some names I could drop. I'm not going to, but historical names of people who are wrongly accused and lost their lives. A lot of these instances were particularly racist. We still live in this world that a guy can have their life destroyed with an accusation alone. So to act like believe all women is necessary to me is shocking. In reality, we need to say believe the victim, or we should say take claims seriously, but require evidence. Trust but verify. In this circumstance, a cop said they wouldn't take the case because it seemed obvious, right? Then what made it so another cop would pick this up and destroy this man's life? I don't know. I'll wrap it up with this, though. The last thing you need to know, as people are now saying, so what? He got 1.2 million. Like I said, money he should have already made. 100 grand in punitive damages. And guess what? She might never even pay it anyway. She won. And that's the truly scary thing about it. He gets the court paper to say he's vindicated. I'm happy to hear for him, But in the end, he's already lost, I guess. We'll see if things like this change, but my heart goes out to this guy. It's a horrifying story. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the next segment. Thanks for hanging out.